January 7th. So, 2003. January 6th, Ron and I worked an all nighter working on his monthly accounting report for the state of Texas. We went to bed. He had to get up early to get a delivery, and he missed the bus. I actually talked to the bus driver that passed him up. He said, quote, he wasn't at the stop. But he saw Ron, and he kept going. And so Ron was crossing the street. There was a guy, postal worker, getting off work. He was in a hurry. He was on his cell phone. He was off the clock. And he came up on the intersection. It was red light. Ron was crossing because he had the light. And he couldn't understand why the other truck was stopped. It was a big semi. And he went around and floored it and saw Ron at the last second, but it was too late. Boom, bang. Now, when EMS arrived, they got his ID out, and they contacted his next of kin, who was his dad. His dad called his sister and his brother. They made the decision not to contact me, even though Ron and I had been together for 11 years at that point. And they just all went to the hospital, and the sister got to, see Ron when he came in. That could have been the last time anybody saw him, and it was the sister who he didn't even like. And the policeman who was assigned to investigate the accident found a business card in Ron's wallet for Ron's boss, and he contacted that guy, and the guy's like, well, does Heather know? And he said, no, I don't think so. And so he came to the house and got me and took me to the hospital. That would have been his job if that had gotten out, but he's been retired for years now, so it doesn't matter. And let me tell you, Ron's family was not happy when I walked in. And it was rough. We were at odds from the start. They're like, oh, we'll just stick him in a home if he lives. And I'm like, no, that's not what he wants. I'll take care of him. No, we're just sticking him in a home. You don't have any legal rights. You're not married. Oh boy, yeah. If you're gonna live with somebody, you need some kind of paperwork, medical power of attorney, marriage license, something. Because guess what? The family gets to decide. His biological family gets to decide whether he lives or dies. Yeah. I literally had to get down on my knees and beg his father to sign a consent form for an emergency operation that day. Because he had to have emergency heart surgery, and his mother was not going to consent. And the other ones didn't want to either, because they figured if he lived, he was just going to be a burden on somebody, and they didn't want it to be them. So, but God had bigger plans, and he used that to launch the whole Bible handout ministry, because I was the first thing I grabbed when I it's right up there too. When I was told about this was my Bible, and I went to the hospital with the Bible, and I hung on to that Bible until I brought Ron home. And there were all these sad stories in the hospital, just accidents, terrible accidents. One guy was assaulted because his ex made up a lie that he had attacked her, and just very, very sad things. And they were just sitting around hopeless, and I at least had my Bible. I knew God had my back, but they didn't know that. They didn't have anything. They didn't have any consolation. And I have always liked getting Bibles, and so I would pick up little cheap paperbacks, or, oh, that's pretty, I like that, and so I had 6 or 7 of those Bibles, and I went home after a couple of days, and I had to, shower and everything. They won't let you shower at the hospital. And So I did that, and I brought him back, and I was very shy. I didn't want him to think I was some kind of a fanatic, so I waited. They always got rid of everybody. I think it was 1 to 2 every day. They would, clear the room, send us all to lunch, and the waiting room, and then they would clean the room, and then they would let us back in. Well, during that period, I went and I put Bibles on all the tables, and then I went to lunch. And when I came back about 20 minutes later, they were all dug into their Bibles like this. And I'm like, wow. And one of the ladies caught me in the elevator one day, and she said, I wonder who brought the Bibles. I said, I don't know. And she said, I wonder why they did it. And I said, I'm sure they just wanted some people to have a little comfort. And she said, oh, good. Well, I hope they don't mind if I take it home with me. And I said, that's absolutely the whole purpose. And she said, okay, good. So it begins, January 7th.